Hey everyone, thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Matt Wahl, and I head up business development for Gemini and BITRIA. I recently joined the Gemini team, along with Dan, as part of Gemini's acquisition of BitRIA. Today, we'll be discussing Gemini's acquisition of our platform, where our teams decided to join forces, how the new offering will benefit our current clients, and what you can expect to see from Gemini moving forward in the wealth management space. We will also share a brief demo of the Gemini BITRIA offering, and at the end, we'll open it up to Q&A and address your questions. So here with me today are Dan Eyre, Head of BITRIA at Gemini, and Kristen Mirabella, Director of Business Development at Gemini. My first question is for Dan and Kristen. Can you both please tell us about Gemini's recent acquisition of BITRIA and how does it change the experience for current BITRIA customers?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So I can start off a little bit with some background on BITRIA for those that are unfamiliar. Our journey began a little over 5 years ago, and this was in 2017. That was really the first parabolic rise of crypto that got a lot of mainstream attention. And at the time, advisors and asset managers were not looking at crypto through a lens of viability, right? It was still seen as sort of a fly-by-night asset class. And we spoke to a lot of different advisors, a lot of different asset managers. And the main thing that we noted when we were doing our research was that there was a lot of interest. No one was really willing to touch it yet, but there was a lot of interest. And so we kind of knew, all right, well, this is going somewhere, just not yet. And we knew that we had some time to build. And so we spent a few years building the baseline infrastructure that was necessary to serve this market. And in the process, we started looking, reaching out in the industry to figure out who we could partner with, right? Who had the custody infrastructure, who had the exchange infrastructure, who had the other tools that were necessary on the back end to do a lot of these things that we wanted to do. And the more firms we spoke to on the custody and exchange side, the more clear it became that there really wasn't a lot of coverage out there for this particular use case. It was a very specialized use case compared to what you see in retail or what you see with hedge fund structures and things like that. And we got into a conversation with Gemini on a very fateful day. And we realized that Gemini really had all of the core infrastructure and was the only custodian and exchange that was regulated and it had the tools necessary and the capability for us to plug into those tools. And so we built this long-term partnership with Gemini, starting a couple years prior to the acquisition. And we just had this shared vision of being able to provide the best experience for advisors and asset managers in a way where it's vertically integrated, and that tool set is one experience end to end rather than being disjointed sort of multi-entity experiences. And we see that trend becoming more and more relevant over time as we see the tokenization of more assets, right? Today, it's crypto. Crypto is the tip of the spear, the crypto that we know and love today. But you can see things sort of moving on other horizons like NFTs and generally speaking, other asset classes that are moving to this infrastructure because it's more efficient. And so this tool set, this vertically integrated tool set, is going to become more and more central to the management, the scaling of practices as this financial services ecosystem becomes more digitally native. So that's a little bit of background there, Matt. But heading into this post-acquisition period, we're really looking at ways to bring it together, tighten things up, and create a unified experience.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Matt. And totally agree with you, Dan. We couldn't be more excited that the BITRIA team was open to joining us here at Gemini. We'd seen for quite some time that retail investors, your end clients, were coming to us directly, and they were opening accounts in a fashion that were really held away from the rest of their portfolios. They were coming directly to Gemini to do this because of the nature of our regulated infrastructure and the security and the compliance level of trust that they could place in us to hold their digital assets. But there was a disjointed process and structure there. So we'd always understood that we needed to better support the wealth and asset management universe, and provide infrastructure that would allow them to seamlessly offer this asset class to their clients, build portfolios, and be able to do so in a regulated and compliant way. And we were so impressed with what the BITRIA team had to offer and what they'd built. Having them here means that we have a full service, one-stop shop for wealth and asset managers to build SMAs and to offer this exposure to their clients in a way that they couldn't before. In our previous relationship before the acquisition, it was pretty protracted. But what we're realizing is the value in this being under one roof, there being seamlessness to the experience and onboarding, to maintaining control of these assets, to allocating to portfolios. And we really just couldn't be more pleased, and we're very excited about what's to come next.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan and Kristen. So Kristen, you just mentioned, advisors having their clients coming directly to Gemini, opening up retail accounts and buying crypto for themselves. So that's always been, probably the easiest option for advisors and the easiest answer to questions from clients on how to access this asset class. But Dan, for advisors, there's starting to be a lot more crypto investment options available today, and each have some drawbacks. Can you talk through some of those options and discuss why an advisor might choose one option over another?
Yeah, so I mean, as you mentioned, there's a lot of different options today. Funds are a popular structure. There's various kinds of funds, but they're popular structure because they're easy to access through existing infrastructure. If you look at a closed-end fund type of structure, you're really looking at something that you can access through probably your primary custodian, like a Schwab or a Fidelity. And so it's convenient in that regard, but typically they tend to be very expensive. And then you have this discount or premium that arises from the shares being what you're trading rather than the underlying crypto. Similarly, when you look at hedge funds, they're typically very expensive, maybe not suitable for all clients. And then if you're looking at ETFs, I mean, we don't have a spot ETF yet. Won't really comment on the timeline for something like that. But even the futures ETFs, they're extraordinarily expensive, right? And you're still not tying to the underlying assets, right? Which is what you really want to do in this case. So it's an element of pricing, and it's also an element of how does this tie back to the investment that you're actually trying to make? And then the last piece of it is, how do you make sure that it's not a one size fits all, right? If it's a Bitcoin ETF, or if it's an index fund that goes kind of spans the space thematically, sometimes you miss the mark when it comes to what is suitable for different clients. If you're a client that is approaching retirement and you just want Bitcoin in your portfolio as a hedge against inflation, that's one type of investor. But on the other side, you could have someone who wants to use some of their funds from their Roth IRA to invest in DeFi and metaverse and other emerging areas that are very exciting and seeing a lot of real world adoption. It's very, very different profiles, right? And that's what, when you look at owning the underlying assets, and what we're talking about here today is that, the separately managed account infrastructure that allows you to do that and tailor those investments. That's really the benefit, right? Is being able to tailor the investments to the different clients, make sure that you're investing in a way that's aligned with their growth goals. And, it does also lay the foundation for interesting things that we're going to be able to do to, here now that we're one team, on the lines of like yield generation. So lending and staking and integrating that into the portfolio construction, portfolio management process, so you can really extract the most value from this next generation infrastructure. And that's, we kind of see, there's a dichotomy of how firms are interacting with the Gemini BITRIA solution, right? So you have some firms that want to come directly to this arrangement, have a contractual relationship directly with Gemini and manage on behalf of their clients, right? So they have an investment thesis whether it's as simple as Bitcoin and ETH, or if they have an idea about how a lot of this is going to play out and they want diversified exposure, they can create their own strategies that span metaverse, DeFi, utility tokens, platforms, protocols, whatever it is, right? Whatever your thesis is, you can bring it here, you deploy it for your own clients and manage, right? So that's one avenue. It's a popular avenue. The other avenue, which is, I would say, even more popular these days, is outsourcing the investment to one of the managers in our SMA network, right? And so the whole idea there is you don't want an asset class that constitutes 2 to 5% of your client portfolios. You don't want that to take up 30% of your time, right? Or more, right? There is an operational burden there if you're going to do it right, because the fundamentals in crypto are very different than the fundamentals in stocks and bonds and other asset classes, right? You can't pull a quarterly report on Bitcoin. So to understand it properly, it does take time. It takes an investment of your time, and then just making sure that you're managing to get outcomes. The SMA network, if you don't want to go the route of sort of taking that on yourself, you can outsource it to a manager that specializes in this. This is what they do. They look at the crypto ecosystem. They figure out what assets are appropriate to bake into these portfolios, and they're able to help you scale that across your client base. Very similar to how you work with an SMA offering or an SMA product on the traditional side. And so that's, really it boils down to what is best for you and best for your clients, both from a scale perspective, and then just like, what are you willing to take on? But they're both really great options. And the good news is you can do either of them today using Gemini's sort of vertically integrated infrastructure here.
Thanks, Dan. So my next question is for Kristen. You've had plenty of conversations with advisors and asset managers throughout your time at Gemini over the past few years. So what are some of the top concerns you hear when it comes to allocating to crypto, and how does our new combined platform help overcome some of those issues?
Thanks, Matt. The concerns have been consistent over time. And as you can imagine, one of the key concerns is over security. Gemini has been able to address this at a foundational level for the past, 6 years. And we're able to do that in a way that allows advisors and asset managers to start to understand what it means to secure digital assets. Cold storage and the ability to keep assets secure, even when they're moving within the framework of how, say, BITRIA would have built onto our interface, allow you to understand that your assets are secure on a platform that's regulated by the Department of Financial Services as a trust company. We manage the balance of assets on our exchange, where BITRIA's infrastructure is held in a way where clients aren't necessarily sitting there wondering, well, what is the wallet that I have to maintain a password for? Am I keeping track of a hard drive that's sitting in a drawer somewhere? And a lot of these types of questions and concerns have arisen over time, in large part due to lack of understanding of how crypto works. Gemini is a centralized custodian, a qualified custodian under New York banking law, addresses a lot of these key concerns by helping guide you through these conversations with your clients and maintaining an understanding of what that difference is. You're entrusting a regulated platform with your assets, who has designed a platform that allows you to interact with these assets in a way where you're remaining in compliance with the SEC custody rule. You can speak with our team, who's very knowledgeable on this subject matter, and understand that at no point you're finding yourself wrongly in custody of these assets. They're able to build a portfolio for your clients and not you don't have to wonder halfway through the year if you've gone about this the wrong way. So working within the framework of what's been created specifically for you on the Gemini platform does address that security concern at an infrastructural level. Another concern that comes up often is around integration. What does it actually take for me to onboard with you? Is it lengthy? Are there pieces of lifting our information onto your platform that are different than what I might expect on the traditional side? And following the acquisition, and as we continue to go through our integration, what we're hearing is that this is seamless, and this looks and feels more like what I'm used to on the traditional side with traditional asset classes. And having that expectation met whenever you meet us at our platform, you're sending your clients' information to us, and then you find the ease of working through the interface, these concerns tend to be immediately addressed. Another concern as part of the integration conversation is scalability. What does onboarding an SMA or managing an SMA on my client's behalf actually look like? Am I able to do this for my entire client book? As an asset manager, can I actually scalably launch an SMA on this platform? And the answer is yes. The tech that the BITRIA team has brought over works with the Gemini platform in a way where through sub-accounting and through other measures, you're able to grow the size of the book you're managing on the basis of working with a wealth manager or a wealth manager working with your book of clients in a way that really meets the needs of what you would have been looking for, to Dan's earlier points, and allocating directly to your clients' portfolios here. Finally, pricing tends to be another key concern. We've addressed pricing in a way that is fair across the existing ecosystem of what your options truly are. And Dan touched on that a moment ago. So depending on what type of product you're allocating to, looking at the BITRIA platform as a one-stop solution within Gemini's ecosystem allows you to, remove the burden of trading fees, look at custodial infrastructure in a wrapped way. So on the wealth management side, if you're logging in to manage your clients' assets on their behalf, you're looking at one fee structure. And as an asset manager, you're looking at a wrap structure that allows you to consider trading fees and custodial fees the same. And we can touch more on that later. But the main goal being here that when you're working with our team, you're working with a very knowledgeable group who's created seamlessness and ease of onboarding and ease of maintenance on the structure that you're looking to maintain for your clients.
Perfect. Thanks, Kristen. So you and Dan have given a great overview of our acquisition, what Gemini BITRIA is and how it works. So it's been hinted at a few times so far, and I think everyone's interested in hearing what kind of new wealth management capabilities can we expect to see from Gemini BITRIA over the next 12 months?
Yeah, so there's a few big threads here in terms of product development. So there's the things that we want to make easier for everyone. There's the things that we want to implement that are net new and have new and better scalability capabilities in various areas. And then there are sort of the nice to haves and other types of innovation that we could do that we couldn't do before by virtue of the fact that we are now all inside the same four walls of Gemini. So one of the big initiatives right now is streamlining onboarding, right? The friction to get assets out of the traditional ecosystem and into the digital ecosystem, that friction is real. And, I think clients feel that. I think, advisors feel that. And it's totally doable today, but we would like to make that as seamless as possible. And so there's a lot of effort right now going into making sure that that's really as slick and smooth as possible, and it's a good experience that clients enjoy, and they're able to just kind of move forward with immediacy, and so that's going to be a big rollout here coming up in the near future. There's also integration with Gemini Prime. And so for those of you that don't have this context, about a week after Gemini acquired BITRIA, Gemini also acquired a company called OmniX, which Gemini and OmniX have been working together for quite some time. And OmniX, the sort of the guts of that, as well as a lot of the technology Gemini had in-house, has become Gemini Prime. And Gemini Prime will really allow for very robust multi-venue execution with a network of market makers, as well as other venues, exchanges, OTC desks, so on and so forth. And that will be a point of integration for BITRIA to be able to execute broad scale actions. And we're talking about, if you're an asset manager, be able to act across multiple firms at once, sort of best execution style block trading. I saw there were a couple of questions about that in the chat. And so those are things that are on the horizon that are sort of in the category of like things that we could do with Gemini or within Gemini now that we're one entity. But I think there's also other elements, as I mentioned before, like billing infrastructure. Billing is a challenge in the digital asset ecosystem. It's not easy. A lot of times you're piping it out to another performance reporting system and trying to calculate your billing there, and then take those assets from your traditional custodian, the cash account over there, it gets messy, right? And there's some compliance hurdles there as well. We already allow firms today to bill through our existing infrastructure, so that already works right now. You'll see some of that in the demo here when we get into it in a minute. But there's also the opportunity to build and expand on with more robust billing infrastructure, so you could get very specific about exactly how you want to structure your fees, whether you're working with an asset manager or going directly, and just sort of having that sort of robust control over the process, visibility, transparency. It's going to be a better experience for you, and it's going to be a better experience for a client. And then in the category of things that it's sort of like stuff that we'd like to add that are nice to have and really might accelerate your ability to either gather new assets, gather new AUM, or just delight the customers that you already have. Integration of yield accounts, right? So like when we talk about things like lending and staking, those are opportunities, right, to integrate into that process. And really extract the most value that you can from the assets that are sitting there in this nascent industry where there's just there's an enormous amount of value, and will probably continue to be for some time. And that's all alongside the consistent rollouts that we have. So we support about 75 assets today, but we're always adding to that list, right? And your diversity is your friend. I mean, you compare this to the early internet. I mean, you didn't pick winners in the beginning. If you did, you might have been wrong, right? So in this case, if you're looking for diversified exposure, Gemini's BITRIA solution is a good place to do that, and it will continue to be an even better place to do that as we roll out additional layer ones and popular tokens and coins.
Thanks, Dan. So yeah, thank you both so much for this overview. So we'd now like to share a demo of the BITRIA platform so you guys can see all the capabilities we've been discussing over the last 20 or so minutes live. And then in the meantime, please feel free to continue sending in questions, because we'll cover Q&A after Dan finishes up the demo.
All righty, folks. So plug this in here. Okay. So here we are. We're on sort of the login portal here. Clients are logging in here. Asset managers are logging in here. Advisors are logging in here. Everyone logs in through the same portal, right? It's a unified interface, so there are ways that you can control who sees what and who can interact with what components of the application. But everyone's kind of coming through this conduit here. Now, when we get into this demo, I'm going to be doing this demo from the perspective of an asset manager. And I just want to be very clear that you're going to see the capabilities that are accessible to asset managers when they're managing on behalf of your clients, in case that's something that you're interested in. But that's a superset of the capabilities that are relevant to advisors. So you're also going to get a flavor for what the advisor experience is like. And so I'm just going to log in here. And on the left-hand side of the screen here, you'll notice that there are different areas of the application. So I want to be clear and upfront that there is a permissioning system baked in here. Depending on what your role is, you'd see different components, things that you could interact with. But from an administrative perspective, you're able to sort of quarantine actions that different users can take to their relevant functional area, which becomes super important when you start talking about discretion and how things line up with the custody rule and all that. So a lot of thought has gone into that. We do have a couple layers of security, both on the sort of the Gemini BITRIA interface and then the Gemini core kind of custodial interface. So what are we seeing on this dashboard? Log in. We've got some nice pretty charts on the left, and we've got some tiles on the right, but what does it actually mean? So on the left-hand side, we're looking at a snapshot of the total current assets under management. That's a US dollar equivalent at this particular point in time, and same deal with lifetime returns. And these are time-weighted returns net of fees. And we'll get more into the whole fees aspect here in a few minutes. But there's also insights from, your historical balance, and that's again US dollar equivalent, and same with returns. We use a weighted pricing index methodology through a provider called Crypto Compare. It looks at 250 different venues to determine what the weighted average price of that asset is at any given point in time. So it gives you a nice, sort of packaged way, well documented, for your compliance folder. But we're able to look over different time horizons here as well. Whatever is most appropriate, given the type of analysis that you're looking to do. And data is exportable from this system as well. If you want to do your own analysis, kind of on your, on your own, or load it into another tool. But it's not just historical charts here. We're also able to look at a breakdown of all the different assets, right? So we could see that, this portfolio is quite diverse. And if I wanted to get a little bit more information on different positions, and I've got that here in the tooltips. You can do some comparative analysis if I'd like, or I can dive into, a table view here. And sometimes it's helpful just to look at it in this, from this perspective. And you can see a little bit about performance of each asset over the time horizon you're looking at. But all of this information on the left is contextual. So as we dive through the account hierarchy, like right now, we're looking at it at a firm level. We're looking at it for BITRIA Wealth Management within Gemini. But as I dive down a level deeper here, you can see this information on the left is updating. I'll dive into Brian. Brian's as a client, we can see he's got a couple different accounts here, and I could go into one of those accounts. And again, all the information is updated. Everything is contextual. And now I'm actually in the account. I can take some action here to actually manage the account. And you can see one of the things that's unique about Gemini's BITRIA platform, the infrastructure here, is that it supports a model of models approach, right? And the reason that is important is because a lot of firms like to start with something like a Bitcoin ETH strategy, where you start simple. You get clients comfortable with it, and then you expand, right? And maybe it's the client asking you for something, or maybe it's an initiative that you're taking as a firm and recommending that to clients. But the beauty of this here is that you can adopt that one strategy, create a Bitcoin ETH strategy, and then layer in a metaverse strategy or something like that. If we look at a specific account here, we can see that Brian's individual account is running a BTC and an ETH strategy, but I can edit this portfolio and go and grab one of my other strategies. So I've got a few in here. I've got my BTC ETH. You can see I've got a DeFi metaverse, one for layer one protocols. And I'm gonna grab the DeFi flagship strategy here. And then I can weight according to how I want to invest thematically, without creating another account, without doing any sort of custom work. I can just allocate to that particular strategy. And you can see if I expand this, it's tied to the model, right? So I'm not able to adjust the assets in here. Of course, I could decouple it if the client wants me to do something custom, but I'm tied to that model. And that's a really important factor, because as you start to scale this across many different clients, it becomes basically impossible to do unless you have a solution that allows you to kind of move all those accounts in tandem, right? Taking place in the same trading activity and rebalance activity for that particular portfolio. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And when I do, it's setting these target variances at the asset level and the strategy level. And that really allows me to, or it allows the sort of secret sauce of the Gemini BITRIA system to optimize the execution for me. So if I sent this in for a rebalance, we're going to see, an execution graph would be created, and I would get a summary from the system of what it's about to do, and then it would go and execute. We're talking about, clearing and settlement in a matter of like minutes, if that. We're not talking about T+1, T+2, the things that you're used to on the traditional side. There's also the capability, if you're funding with, if you're funding in kind, then it'll, deposit directly into this interface. You'll see the crypto assets there. If you're funding in cash, you're going to see that deposit into the cash balance here, the cash account here, and you're able to buy and sell crypto directly in here. You can deploy it into strategies that you have existing, into portfolio, the total portfolio you're running. or you could buy and sell specific lots. If you want to get into things like tax loss harvesting, you can certainly do that. And this interface allows you the customizability that you need to do that in a value add way. But it's not just about deploying the strategies. Another aspect of this is, if I want to create a strategy or say update a strategy, I could say, well, I want to move from a 65-30 to, maybe I want to do a 70, let's do 70, and we'll do 25 here. So I updated the strategy, and now comes time to kind of cascade that change to multiple client accounts. Here I could just say, well, I want to do a rebalance all, and I want to set up some filters. Maybe I only want to rebalance accounts that are over a certain size, or maybe I only want to do a certain account type, taxable, non-taxable, or maybe I only want to do accounts that are over a certain variance to the portfolio or the allocation targets. I can batch them up, say I want to include those, and then send them in for execution. I can still download that pre-rebalance report, but basically, what I'm trying to paint a picture for here is how you actually get to scaling this, right? How you get to scaling it without it becoming your problem. And really, these tools are designed to do that. Then the question comes of like, how do you get paid? I'm not going to go into a ton of detail here, but as you configure firms, whether it's just for your firm and you're not one of these multiple firms that an asset manager is managing client assets on behalf of, you're able to configure your pipelines so that you can get paid through the Gemini infrastructure for advising on these assets that are under your umbrella. And that's happening natively to the digital asset accounts. So you don't have to worry about sort of the rigmarole associated with the rest of the ecosystem on the traditional side. I did mention the capability to do things like permissioning. We do have pre-bucketed roles in here, and we have an entirely digital onboarding process. And we support many different account types. So, as you look to add an account, whether it's an individual, joint tenant, a trust, we support corporate accounts. And then, if you want to branch out into retirement accounts, we also have that flow integrated with an ACATS eligible provider. And so all that is streamlined through the application. Gemini performs all the KYC, BSA, AML checks on the underlying clients. So you can be sure that you're always compliant. And we do have, white glove support across, the entire platform. Very easy to reach out to us. And then we have, a robust, library of instructions and reminders, step-by-step walkthroughs on how you do different things on the platform. So if you ever get lost, you reach out to us, or you can refer to our help resources. But, would like to impart to everyone that this is an ecosystem, and you're going to continue to see that this ecosystem expands and has richer and richer diversity in terms of the types of products that are offered in this network, the SMA network, as well as the types of things that you can do on the platform that are value added if you're managing directly for your clients. So I'll stop there, and we can move on to some questions.
Appreciate it, Dan. So yeah, we'd love to open it up to some Q&A with the audience. We have a handful of questions ready to go, and we appreciate any new ones as well. So to get things started, so are we planning, is BITRIA planning, or are you guys integrated with any financial planning or performance reporting tools?
Yeah, so we have an integration with Morningstar's By All Accounts solution. And we're talking about a direct feed integration there. So how it works is, as you use the Gemini BITRIA platform, that data gets piped into the integration with Morningstar's By All Accounts, and they sort of splice it up and direct it to the correct system on the other side, right? So we have integrations with all of the top performance reporting portfolio accounting systems, but there are also other integrations that are supported. Some of them are financial planning systems through Morningstar as well. But you're able to turn those spigots on from those applications themselves, and you don't need an independent agreement with Morningstar, but it just offers like one kind of clean, concise point of integration. especially if you're dealing with multiple different systems.
Awesome. And a popular question so far has been around fees. So how do we approach fees, and what are some of the different billing options that exist for advisors?
Yeah, so in terms of fee management, we can handle up to 3 pipelines, right? So there's the manager, if you choose to hire one, they can have a billing pipeline. You as the actual advisor of the client that owns the relationship, you are able to set up a billing pipeline as well. And certainly if you haven't hired a manager, you're probably the only one with the pipeline. And then there's the Gemini pipeline, right? So all of that is managed through the SMA infrastructure. And there's configurability there. So you can have a tier-based system, or you can have just like a flat percentage if that's the way that you want to do it. In terms of how that process works, we distribute, when things are calculated in the system, fee accrual reports are distributed, you have an opportunity to review it and everything, make sure all is good. And then, fees are remitted to, your primary account at Gemini. And you're free to do whatever you want with those fees, right? You could reinvest them. And we've seen things as popular as firms reinvesting them and, putting them in earn, getting some yield on those fees, right? Get it working for you. So that's, you have a lot of configurability there. You have a lot of options there. You can, if you choose to, go through the traditional infrastructure. You bill out of the cash account at Schwab or Fidelity or wherever. You can do that. There's nothing that we would do to prevent you from doing that. And of course, you could use the data from the portfolio accounting system. It just tends to be easier to actually bill out of the accounts where this activity is happening.
Thanks, Dan. So next 2 questions are for Kristen. So does Gemini offer cold storage where clients hold the keys? And on top of that, there are a few folks in the chat who are curious about advisors being able to obtain E&O insurance for crypto.
Sure. So Gemini's nature as a centralized and qualified custodian presents the idea that your clients don't need to manage ownership of keys. So Gemini's custody operations team and our wallet operations team manage the balance of assets between hot and cold for you. So you're not ever wondering about how to move assets from one wallet to another. We maintain the security around those digital assets for you. So rest assured the balance is maintained on a regular basis. And we do offer some educational tools that if you needed to help explain to your clients why holding their own keys might not be the best idea for how you'd be managing assets on their behalf, we can certainly share those afterward. To the point on insurance, Gemini offers digital asset insurance upward of $290 million, covering majority on the custody and cold storage side and $90 million on our exchange side. That covers, from a commercial crime perspective, an instance in which Gemini would be impacted by any type of event. And we can provide additional follow-up on that as well. But we do offer the ability for you to purchase additional insurance to cover, your allocation here separately from what's offered. And we can make those intros accordingly.
Yeah, and as far as E&O insurance goes, it's a topic that's evolved a lot over the last year and a half since our product went to market. I would recommend, I'm putting a link in the chat to a working group of advisors who've created a DAO called the Planner DAO. I know there's quite a few attendees who are part of that community already, but they host working groups and they've had a few topics on E&O insurance already. I would also recommend reaching out to any of our SMA providers. So every single one is either a state or SEC registered firm. They've gone through this process. They're all trailblazers. So any questions around compliance or E&O insurance, anything around that topic, they'd be extremely helpful resources. Perfect.
Matt, it seems like one question that is showing up is around the idea of how to get started, and it looks like there are a few folks who might already have existing accounts on Gemini, and they might want to understand how to move their accounts under the BITRIA infrastructure. I'd kick off by saying we can facilitate that movement very easily. And it seems like a few folks on the thread certainly recognize Matt Wahl. He's been a legend in getting a number of folks onboarded here. But maybe Matt, if you had information on really what it means to get started and who to reach out to, that seems like a popular one.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone here can reach out directly to our BITRIA team. I just provided a link to our website, and you can send in a inbound message, and we'll reach out and schedule a introduction call and walk you through the process. It's a pretty easy process right now, so it's roughly like a 2-week turnaround time. It would require your firm setting up a Gemini institutional account, and then from that point forward, we hand you off to our amazing client services team that we're also building out right now. So I don't want to take too much credit for the success of our customers. I help them get onboarded, but Caleb and Megan are building out an awesome world-class customer service client services team. And this is not a product where we're just hoping you guys figure things out on your own. We want to help you become successful on our platform and grow and build a relationship with Gemini and our team. So yeah, feel free to reach out through bitria.io. I'll also drop my email address so you can reach out directly to me as well. But yeah, it's a pretty simple process. And whether you're already on Gemini, you have clients who have Coinbase accounts, or you're just looking to get started from scratch, there's different options for you to get started, and there's no real blockers. So happy to help you out there. One other question that has come up is how Gemini, how do we choose what assets are on our platform? There's comment about folks feeling comfortable with an asset like Bitcoin, but I think it'd be good to just get into Gemini's relationship with regulators as well.
I can touch on this, and Dan, obviously jump in if there's anything you'd like to add. But the mindset at Gemini, and I think many people on this call have heard us say this before, is that we ask for permission and not forgiveness. So we have a long-standing relationship with our regulators, again, the New York Department of Financial Services, and one that has allowed us to grow in this industry in a way where we're not getting cute. We're not developing products where we might have to worry about, what the availability of that product looks like later, or the listing of a token has gotten us into some kind of hot water. The evaluation process we maintain internally on each new token that is listed on our platform is extremely robust. And it's been approved by the Department of Financial Services and allows us to evaluate what belongs on our platform. We evaluate a number of metrics around each token, including ones that would be more regulatory focused, as far as the SEC would have had an opinion. And we make a determination as to whether or not we would put the engineering work into listing that token. Obviously, the dev work and being able to support something is a big component in what we can and what we're able to list. But one really exciting development of note is that in the past 2 years, we've been able to list over 70 new tokens, and the rate that we're able to do this is increasing in speed as each month goes by, and we're very excited about that. So, as new tokens are available on Gemini broadly, these are tokens you'd have access to through BITRIA, and I'd say stay tuned. The fact that we're a crypto native platform allows us to evaluate the evolution of the token universe in a way that we have comfort with, and we want to make sure you're comfortable with as well. I think being crypto native, allows us to understand these networks and understand these infrastructures in a way that might not be as familiar to non-crypto native platforms. And so that's something we pride ourselves on as well. I don't know, Dan, if you have anything you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, just logistically, the Gemini BITRIA platform does offer, it is technically a subset of all of the assets that are supported through Gemini. And largely speaking, as long as it's supported in terms of trading and custody and sort of across the spectrum, then it's an asset that we'll look to add. And so you'll see, you usually trail, or historically, especially when we're separate entities, we would trail the Gemini releases by, a few weeks. We're going to get more towards sort of a lockstep release cadence now, as well as, Gemini rolls out new, for example, a new layer 1 or a new token. Then we would look to add that to BITRIA, with minimal time lapse in between.
Thank you both. So there's a few questions on where we operate and where clients or where clients can be located. So at the moment, we only work with either SEC or state registered firms in the United States. However, clients can be located globally, as long as they're a resident of a country that's part of Gemini's areas of availability, which I could also provide that link in the chat as well. So currently just state and SEC registered firms in the United States. A few questions on tax reporting. I know that this is an evolving topic, but something that's top of mind, especially fresh off of tax day.
Yeah, so I can speak to that, and Kristen, feel free to jump in on anything that I'm missing here. But Gemini has a relationship with Taxbit, and that relationship with Taxbit allows us to kind of pipe the information, all the data of things that are happening on the Gemini BITRIA platform over to Taxbit, so clients can get a comprehensive picture of that. But the advantage there is that client has a Taxbit account associated with that. And if they do have crypto that they're holding away, for example, in a Coinbase account that you don't have discretion to trade and you're not advising on, they could still get that incorporated into their total tax picture via Taxbit. It doesn't have to be just the Gemini stuff. But the nice thing here is the data from Gemini BITRIA, especially for this coming tax season here, the approaching year, going to be very robust through that relationship that we have with Taxbit. So there is a solution that you and your clients will be able to take advantage of come tax season.
Thank you, Dan. Another question around staking. Rough timelines or just our views on building out infrastructure to support those types of activities.
Look, so we can't, there's certain things that we probably won't go into a whole lot of detail about timelines. Like, for example, staking, we probably won't get into a discussion about the specific timeline for it. Of course, it's very topical in the crypto space. A lot of people are interested in staking. And I can say this, when staking is available through Gemini core infrastructure, we'll also be looking to make it available within the BITRIA platform. And you can rest assured that it's certainly on our radar.
Yeah, and staking's an interesting topic that, it's along the lines of Gemini asking for permission and taking that approach with regulators. It's, there's a lot of exciting things happening in the broader crypto ecosystem right now that, especially as you start doing research, you'll become aware of things like yield farming and staking, lending, things like that. We're very aware of everything that's happening in that broader ecosystem, and all of our asset managers are very aware. But right now, it's all about how to stay compliant in the current moment, and setting up and laying the foundation to be able to do things like that moving forward. And owning the underlying asset is going to be necessary in the future if you want to do those things for clients, especially in a personalized fashion. So we're well aware of those things and are building towards that future. But we want to make sure we're buttoned up and compliant. I think we're covering most of the questions. Oh, this is a good one. So how do we choose and curate our third-party SMA managers?
Yeah, so I mean, typically there's we look for firms that have a plan for how they're going to approach the space. A plan is a good prerequisite to sort of understanding what is new and unique that is brought by that manager to the ecosystem. I think there's also, a question of registrations, right? Whether we're talking about a state registered firm that's looking to service, particular clientele, or we're talking about an SEC registered firm. And then there's also just sort of the brand and the ecosystem, right? Like how does this organization, do they have other products? A lot of times our partners have their own funds, whether it's a hedge fund or maybe it's a closed-end fund, whatever it is. If they have experience in the crypto space, sometimes that can translate very well over to the SMA side. So that there's a number of things that we sort of measure when we're kind of vetting, like who's joining the ecosystem, in particular, who's joining the network itself, right? The network is sort of a specific subset of our customers that actually make it on there. So, look into the future, you'll start to see a more sort of rigorous process around evaluating the managers that are available to sub-advise end clients of advisors. You're going to see a lot more definition around that in the future. So that's kind of how we do it today, though.
Thanks, Dan. So looks like we're about wrapped up through our questions. Any last comments or closing remarks from either of you?
Look, yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time for this space, right? It's whether you feel like you're early or late or somewhere in between. The best time to get started is as soon as you know that you need to make an allocation for your clients, and you know that this is going to be a part of their future portfolio. Start doing the research. Reach out to us. Talk to us. We'll walk you through everything that we can. We're looking to make sure that you have a really good experience. And even if you feel like you aren't early, you're still pretty early compared to where this is going to be 4, 5, 10 years into the future. So we're definitely at an inflection point for this industry. We're more than happy to accompany you on the journey.
I couldn't agree more, Dan. I think the hashtag associated with this webinar was Get Off Zero. And to echo Dan's comment, if you're here and you're wondering, what am I going to have to do to get started here? Reach out to our team. We can at least walk you through the first steps of reading and understanding what that first step should be. And when you're ready to take action, we can show you exactly what that step would be. And I just want to say one more time how excited I am that the BITRIA team's here, and couldn't be more excited about what we're building together. We've got some exciting announcements coming up. We can't wait to share with everyone, especially those who have joined today. We've got a lot of work to do, but the next couple of years are going to be really exciting for this industry.
Thanks, Kristen and Dan. So yeah, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to arrange an introduction call, review anything discussed on this webinar as well. And again, like I'd mentioned, the Planner DAO, our list of our SMA network on the BITRIA website now. Reach out to those firms, reach out to any type of community. It's still very early on, and everyone's learning right now. So just get involved. Everyone has started from the ground floor as far as their knowledge base on this asset class, but it's a extremely welcoming group, and we're looking forward to meeting with everyone and hosting more of these events.
Thanks, everyone.
So thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.